Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's a really nice time in the evening. The sun is setting. I thought I would just make a short video, and this is sort of going into a subject that I'm going to revisit probably often or somewhat often once I'm out on the road. But a huge motivator for me in making content is, and like as I get into trucking, making content, is that I have this background as a personal trainer. I was a trainer for a long time, for about 9 years. I got into doing that because I like to help people. I want to help people feel better. And it's kind of weird approaching that in the trucking space because, first of all, I'm admittedly coming from a position of relative ignorance because I worked as a mover, so I have the experience of long hours of driving and like doing physical work and stuff like that. And I also know how like driving for a living is draining, for not just because you're sitting still for long hours, but because you are also having to maintain focus for the entire time, which is not an easy thing to do for your brain. So like one thing I definitely understand is how when you just get done with a long day of driving, the last thing you feel like doing is exercising. And I do get that, but I don't think I quite get it as well as I'm going to once I've actually been doing the work. So this video is sort of like, here's my my best idea of a few things that I think could be helpful. You know what? One of the things I really want to get across here is that I feel so strongly about this. If you're out there driving a truck, you are running this country. You're making this country function. You are feeding our country. You are keeping products on our shelves. There are so many things that you're doing for us. I really want to make jokes about how, like, during the pandemic when we're all lonely, you made sure that we got our dildos. I mean, I'm joking, but it's also true. Anyway. Shit, man, people are lonely. Anyway, no, but on a serious note, I think about something even like this. My dad's been an over-the-road trucker for a long time. One of the routes that he does frequently, he transports stuff for cat food, like chicken livers and stuff like that. We help keep, not we, but you, soon to be we, keep people's cats fed. Everybody loves cats. Everybody's all about being cat people. And it's like, these are the little things that everyday people don't ever have to think about, is how much a trucker made sure that they got what they needed. And so why is it that we accept as a society that the trucking lifestyle has to be unhealthy, that truckers can't have access to healthy food? This stuff all really gets me, man. It really does. And like, I don't want to go on a whole tirade about it, so I'll try to refrain. My underlying point is not at all intended to be preachy, like you should work out, like get off your ass. No. Quite the opposite. More like, you deserve to feel well because the work you do is so important, and you deserve it. You deserve to feel well. And I think what I really want to get across too is the idea that you don't have to do a lot to feel significantly better. You'd be surprised how little you have to do, and it's really more about doing a little bit on some sort of a consistent basis. One of the things I thought I would share today is just a few simple stretches that you can do. I'm sharing these specifically with the idea in mind of a person attempting to do them who is not very flexible. One of the things that kills me when it comes to sharing any type of like fitnessy, or especially I like to think of myself as a yoga evangelist. Yoga has really changed my life, and I've been following Yoga with Adriene for years, and she's someone I definitely want to promote on my channel. Not that she needs it. She has like 11 million followers or something. But the thing that I really respect about her approach as a former instructor myself is making things accessible to an everyday person. For example, I have a coworker who I really love to pieces. We're buddies. I refer to him as we're each other's emotional support bartenders. And, he said something to me recently that just really bummed me out to hear it. He was like, look at you. Yeah, because this was after I was like trying to tell him, because he had some minor pain issues, which most people have, especially if you get to a certain point in your life. I had shared with him a couple of real simple yoga videos. Like anytime I share a video with someone, I make sure it's something that any level of fitness could do. So it's not something they see and they're like, they start watching and they're like, well, I could never do this. Fuck this, So I had shared a couple things with him, and then I asked him, I mentioned it to him or whatever when he was talking about the pain he was dealing with. And he was like, well, look at you. You're a yoga person. I'm not a yoga person. And that just kills me to hear that, because it's a total misunderstanding, which has been created by people who are marketing like yoga pants and like the image of a yogi to the public because it makes money. That's a total bastardization of what yoga is actually about. And like underneath that, without me getting into a whole giant tirade, because I could, if it doesn't seem like I have already, I hope not. There is no particular body or demographic. You don't have to be a female. You don't have to be thin. You don't have to be flexible. You don't have to have $60 friggin' yoga pants or anything like that to benefit from doing yoga or to be capable of doing yoga. And like the stuff I'm going to show you today, I guess you could say it's, you know, yoga adjacent, but this is not a yoga video. But I just thought I would show you a few stretches that are real simple that you can do if you see yourself as a non-flexible person that can help you feel better, because I think you deserve to feel better. And if you're sitting behind the wheel of a truck every day for long hours, you probably don't feel great. You probably have some stiffness in your lower back. You probably have stiffness in your hips. When you get out of that cab and you go after, you know, hours of driving and you start walking, you might be like, oh, you know, feel that tension. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to do like an hour of exercise every day or whatever. Would it be great if you could? Sure. You know, the more you do to counter all the time spent inactive, the better. But you don't have to do a crazy amount of effort or time in order to get some benefit. And that's one of the things I think is so important for people to know, is just like a little bit goes a long way. That's definitely something that Adriene says all the time. And anytime I say anything that sort of echoes her, it is totally said in homage, because she is a really brilliant instructor. No one needs to feel intimidated. You shouldn't have to feel like that. You should be able to feel like this is approachable. I can do this, you know, because you can. So let me show you a couple of things. I just thought of a couple of really basic stretches that you could do in your cab. And again, coming from a place of ignorance, because I haven't lived in a cab yet, I'm gonna find out what that's like, but, or your sleeper. I'm not even getting my terminology right. I'm so friggin' green, guys. Don't make fun of me, please. I mean, or do, whatever floats your boat. I want to start with this, you know, and then once I'm out there and I have a little bit more experience and understanding of like the day-to-day, then I'll probably introduce some more that is specific to that experience and kind of share that with you. So I'm going to set up my little makeshift sleeper area, and I'll be right back. All right, so there are unquestionably people out there who are going to make this first one weird. That's okay. There's nothing I can do about that. This is a stretch that would be considered a passive hip stretch. So if you sit in a truck all day, you have tight hips. Most people have tight hips. If you're a desk jockey, you sit at a desk at a computer all day, you've got tight hips. Most people have tight hips. I think I just said that exact phrase. So this is, in yoga, would be called reclined cobbler's pose, or Supta Baddha Konasana, but you don't need to worry about that. But basically, you want pillows supporting your head, supporting the middle part of your back, and supporting under the knees. And if I was really tight in the hips, I would have these pillows like doubled up, either like fold them over maybe and use them like that to give me a little bit more to rest my legs against. This is something that you can do while you're laying in your bunk. And just laying like this, getting your spine neutral by having these pillows supporting your back. If you can have even like a feather pillow, something that has sort of like it's gonna shape itself to your body, that's even better. But just lying like this for a period of time with your legs resting against something that sort of props them up can really help to, like I was saying before, give you sort of a passive hip stretch. So you're using gravity to do the work. It doesn't require a lot of effort. It actually feels really relaxing. And this is a great position to get yourself into that can even be sort of a meditative position. If we were doing this in a yoga context, we might say something like you put your left hand on your heart and your right hand on your belly. And take some deep breaths and feel your breathing, you know, feel your belly rise and fall with your breath. Try as you're doing this to allow gravity to sort of take over. Try to just allow yourself to sink into those pillows. Let them support the weight of your legs, and gradually you'll feel a little bit of opening in the hips and the hip flexors and the inner thigh muscles. Those muscles, some of those muscles attach into the front part of your spine. And that's why when those muscles are constantly in a shortened state, when we're sitting or in a seated position for long periods of time, they create all this strain on the lower spine, because they're actually pulling on the lower spine from the front of the body, if that makes sense. So, passive hip stretch, reclined cobbler's pose. Real simple, something you can do no matter how tight your hips are. Proper support, that's really all you need. The next thing I'm going to show you is a Cobra Pose, which is, again, another really simple kind of yoga pose. And it's really just a matter of sort of stretching through the front of your body. So when your midsection, the muscles of your abdominals are really tight from long hours of sitting, and your hands are on the steering wheel. So like, if I was to show you that more accurately, let's say I'm sitting in a chair and I'm like this, and we tend to let this part of our body sort of sink forward, and it becomes tight from holding these postures for long periods of time. So if you can do something to sort of open up the front of the body, that's a nice way to sort of counter that. And a Cobra is a really good, simple way to do that. And it can be something as simple as just lifting up and, you know, laying on your belly, lifting up and holding up on the forearms, or you could clasp your hands and think about aiming your chest forward, like aiming your sternum forward and letting the shoulders sort of fall back, and just holding that position for, you know, maybe 10 seconds, maybe a little bit longer, and doing that a few times. So, you know, maybe you come down in between, and a good way to rest in between is to let your head be on one side, so you get a stretch through one side of the neck, and you bring your toes together and let the heels fall out to the side, and that can feel like a really nice release in the lower back as well. And then same thing, but to the other side. So with your head to this side, stretching through the other side of your neck. And then you might come back up into your Cobra. And if you gain flexibility over time doing this type of thing, or if you have the flexibility, you can do a Cobra that goes up a little bit higher. So you might come up to doing something closer to this. But for a lot of people, they might not be quite there. So doing a smaller movement, especially not thinking about muscling up with your hands, but instead thinking about just lifting up. So you're using your back muscles to lift yourself, and you're not straining or forcing yourself. That's going to be a better, healthier way to do that. And just thinking of lifting forward, and you can just hold yourself in this position with the elbows underneath the shoulders, lifting the chest forward, not letting yourself sink down into the shoulders, but holding yourself up, and doing that for as long as you feel comfortable, and sort of feeling that stretch through the front of your body. Trying not to let those shoulders sort of like become slumped forward or stay slumped forward where they may usually live, and sort of pulling them back. So just a simple Cobra. That's the next one I have to show you. The last one I'm going to show you in this video, I'm just going to keep it simple. Just these few little things, so as not to be a little, you know, like extra is the word I was looking for. Is a really simple stretch that you can do anywhere that you have a wall handy, or a corner, or whatever. So this is a chest stretch, and one of the things that when you spend long periods of time seated, these muscles, there's a pec muscle, pectoralis minor, which inserts, it's from here, and it inserts into the arm, and it pulls that shoulder. It can actually cause that shoulder to rotate inward like this and forward. And that can cause a lot of discomfort in the shoulders, and it can cause strain in the neck muscles. So doing a simple stretch to help relieve some of that tension in the chest can be really great for the way you feel in your upper body, and even in the neck, which a lot of us have constant tension in our neck muscles, especially just from like the nerves you might experience, I don't know, driving a truck in the winter maybe. So what this is going to be is just a chest stretch against the wall. I'm going to have my arm at a 90-degree angle to my body, and that's important, and I want to make sure that my hand is flat against the wall. And I actually like to put my hand on my rib cage here and sort of think about guiding myself away from the wall while I'm putting a little bit of pressure in toward the wall, and I'm sort of trying to turn my torso in a way that's straight, and I can feel that really deep stretch in the chest muscle there. And then to sort of deepen that, I will turn my head and look over my shoulder, and that just sort of brings it all into like I'm really stretching through this whole part of the chest. And I'm trying not to muscle through, or like a lot of times when we're trying to stretch ourselves, we don't realize that we're doing this, but we will compensate. So like if we're really tight, we'll start to like throw our back into a weird position to try to get there. And what I want to encourage you to do is don't worry about how far your body moves. Focus on the sensation over, again, Adriene. Thanks, Adriene. Sensation over the shape. So don't think about how your body looks when you're doing something. Even close your eyes. I really recommend doing that while you're doing any kind of stretching, because it's so much better to just go inside and just notice how you feel when you're doing something, instead of trying to like look like the picture in your mind of how you're supposed to look. Trying to keep myself from borrowing flexibility in the lower back and just turning away from the arm while I'm maintaining that position of the arm. And again, taking some deep breaths. And if you hold this stretch for a good, 20, 30 seconds, you're going to walk away from that wall and you're going to be like, ooh, feel loosey-goosey in the shoulders. Like you really feel it. And then of course, really important, make sure you do the same thing to the other side. And I'm trying not to, sort of like make my body into a corkscrew. I'm trying to think about the arm is one position and the rest of the body is another nice straight line. So I'm not putting all this torque on my body and on my shoulder, but rather I'm trying to just ease into getting that nice stretch through the front of the chest and shoulder. And I'm talking a lot, but if I wasn't talking, I would be taking a bunch of deep breaths. And that's one of the things that I can't emphasize enough when it comes to stretching is breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. That's such a thing that we don't do enough of consciously. And we tend to breathe really shallowly, especially when we're sitting all the time and when we're tense, when we're stressed. We don't breathe well. We don't think enough about our breathing. And so it is a passive exercise, obviously, a passive activity, but it tends to be really shallow, and that can have very real consequences for our health. So spending time, even a little bit of time every day, being conscious of your breath, taking some deep breaths while doing some really simple stretches can change the game for you. It can really help to improve your health a little bit over time with a little bit of consistency. I just love the idea of keeping it simple, and I want to help other people understand that you don't have to go do like something extreme in order to feel a little bit better. If you were to do, I would challenge you, anyone who's watching this, do these 3 stretches, spend 10 minutes once a day doing these 3 stretches for a week with deep breathing, and see if you feel a difference. And if you do, let me know in the comments. I hope you appreciated this video. I hope you found something useful from it. And I really want to encourage you, if you're watching it and you are one of those people who said to yourself, well, look at that chick. I'm not flexible enough to do that. I'm not thin enough to do that. I'm not this or that, or whatever excuse you might have, whatever reasoning you might have in your mind for it. And I want you to just suspend disbelief and give yourself a chance to try something different. Try something outside of your comfort zone. You'd be amazed at what you are capable of, because every person is capable of more than they think they are. We have the power in our mind to talk ourselves through challenging, uncomfortable situations or things that we do. And if you drive a truck, you already know about that. You already know about pushing through discomfort, pushing through stress. So this will feel like, something gentle and easy that you do for yourself. This by comparison to what you already have pushed yourself through, This ain't nothing. So give it a shot. Let me know how it goes. Put something in the comments. If you're also a fan of Yoga with Adriene, give a shout out in the comments and mention, I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on how practicing with Adriene has helped them. It's been a really life-changing experience for me. And I have to say, she is part of the reason why I feel motivated to put this type of content out there, because you never know, one random person watching it could be like, holy shit, I started doing this thing and now my life is different and I feel better. You deserve to feel well. You work really hard. You are worth the time. So give yourself a few minutes a day, do something out of your comfort zone. And that's all I got. I'll catch you on the next one.